gosh, it's another Brattlecast, which means we're going to have a lot of fun, learn a bit, and be captivated by this business, the bookshop business, and nobody does it better than our guest and our friend and our co-host, of course, on this podcast called the Brattlecast, Ken Gloss, the proprietor of the Brattle Bookshop. We've talked a bit about some of the things that happen in the course of a day, but you took a look at your calendar for 1 week and thought this would make for an interesting discussion about what happens in the life of Ken Gloss and his team. So where do we start?
Well, one of the things that brought this up, first of all, I've gotten very nice comments from people who have listened to the podcast about just how the day-to-day works, how things go on, as opposed to, talking about a specific book or a specific type of books. And what brought this to mind, I recently went to an event at my high school that I went to many years ago, Boston Latin. And there was a man there. He was the 50th the first 50th reunion is what there was. And he said, when he retired, he was thinking of running a bookstore. He thought it would be fun. And I was thinking to myself, it's sort of like running a inn in Vermont or a restaurant, but it's sort of. And I talked to him, and I told him I'd love to talk to him. I encourage people to do it. It's a lot of fun. But I said, sometime I'll sit down with you and sort of go over what I do. So this is going to be maybe a long but quick version. This is from a week ago. Mm-hmm. Monday morning, first of all, I get up at 4:30 in the morning, wash up, get dressed, walk into work. Fortunately, I live a mile away, so it's 20 minutes. Pull the truck out of the garage where it is, pull it into the lot. First thing I do when I get out of my truck, we have an empty lot next to the store where we have our outside books, but it's empty overnight. I look to see if there's any excrement there. Every once in a while, and I unfortunately it's not dogs either. But
so
that's the first thing.
The pleasant part of the job. That's the
it's a part of the job, and when there is, I clean it up.
Okay.
Then it's Monday morning. I open it up. I go into the store, turn the lights on. Well, I hit the alarm first. I turn that off. Then I go downstairs. I turn on the lights there. I turn on the computer there. I go up through the floors, turning lights on, turning computers on. And then the next thing I do on Monday morning is I clean the bathrooms. And I feel that doing that, first of all, I don't like to nag people about cleaning it well. But also, if the staff here knows that I clean the bathrooms, it makes it much easier when there's a job that maybe everybody doesn't want to do that much. But they realize, it's not like I won't do it. And it makes it easier. But then on that Monday morning, we have a staff meeting at 8:45. Everybody else shows up at 8:45, and we sort of go over the day and what's going to go on. And I went with one of my assistants to Hingham. We had, about 3 months ago, before this, had bid on a library. The people were slow to decide. They wanted to keep a couple of books, but also they were selling the house, and they didn't want the books empty before the house was sold, because when people show it. In any case, they had about 1,500 books, some on the first floor, some on the second floor. We boxed everything up, and then we worked it out that I carried the books down from the second floor. My assistant carried it into the car. But one of the things you have to do when you do that, it's about 1,000 books, is you have to carry an extra shirt, because very quickly I sweat right through it, and literally it's soaked. Now, that night I sort of gave myself a break. I didn't go down to the gym in our building. I normally do on Monday nights. But we got a good 1,500 books out of this house. They were very good books. We were pleased to get them. So we had left at 9. We probably got back at about 1:30. Parked the car. We don't unload during the day. But then I answer phone calls and leave messages probably for the next hour or so. Then the next thing is I help at the cash registers. We go downstairs. I price and sort books. That goes until about 4:30, quarter of five. At about 5:05, we start closing our outside. We roll the carts in, put the wooden doors on. Uh, I usually pick up little scraps of paper out of the lot because I don't like to see paper there overnight. And then at 5:30, we warn all the customers. They leave. We cash the cash registers out. I carry them up to the third floor because the staff leaves when the cash registers are carried out. I go around the store. I turn off all the lights, unlock it, leave, lock it back up, and I get home at about 6 o'clock. And as I joke, my wife says, you're older, you've got to cut back a little. So I tell her, well, I only work half a day. 5:30 to 5:30 is 12 hours. It's half a day.
Yeah, that doesn't seem
And
so bad. By the way, when you didn't mention taking a break for lunch, but I assume you have to eat somewhere along the way.
why would you assume that? Uh,
Well, you're skinny like me, but I didn't think you
uh,
went the whole day without
Once
imbibing.
in a while, there's a supermarket that you're well aware of called Roach Brothers
Yes, I
down
am.
the street, and they have a nice takeout counter of wraps and soup. Actually, I think that day I got some chicken soup.
Okay.
Between walking down there, getting it, getting back to the store, and eating the soup, maybe that's 15 minutes.
By
But
the way, let's talk about the staff because you mentioned them, and we don't know exactly how many roughly there are, and the fact that they all have various jobs and they do them very, very well, including the fellow you took or the gal you took with you to Hingham. But how many on the team?
we have a total of about 12, but that's including us. Uh, we probably in a few weeks will have 13 because we almost always have a summer staff and helps. That way, when summer vacations come up, we don't get shorthanded. But there's about 12, including
Mhm.
Joyce, my wife, and I, uh, 8 to 10 a regular. Um, we allow for people getting sick. When we have appointments, one of the things that bothers me the most is if somehow two or three people are sick and you have to postpone
Mm.
because that's the most fun. I don't like the days I can't go out. Uh, but everybody works really hard. One of the requirements at work when you're hired is that you be physically in very, very good shape. I consider myself fortunate that I'm in my mid 70s now and I can still do the physical work, but everybody has to do it. And if people think working in a used bookstore is talking to customers about books, telling books, reading books, enjoying books, absolutely. But you also have to carry books, uh, unload trucks, move things around. But that's what makes it interesting. It breaks up the day.
Yeah.
It's fun. In other words, you're not in the store all day long helping customers. You're going out to houses. It's a treasure hunt. Uh, in any case, Tuesday. Now that we've gone through, again, I checked a lot first thing in the morning, but I don't clean the bathrooms every single day. So I let that go. But on the Tuesday after the staff meeting, we actually had two appointments, one south of Boston, and the person had a lot of books signed by authors, signed by people. They had worked in the book industry. The hard part was that most everything they had was popular in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but people aren't as familiar anymore, or they don't care as much. The fact that a book was signed by some famous person then that young people don't know or care about now. And I get the sense the person really wanted to sell some books, and I tried to be very nice on a couple of things, and then it was like, oh, that's not enough money, and so it
Mm.
didn't work out. But one of the things when I go out to people's houses, usually one of three things can happen. I mean, the hunt, the meeting people, the seeing different houses is always fun. But one of a few things can happen. Best result is there are good books, we buy them, write a check, move them out, and everybody's happy. We're going to make a profit on it. The second result is the books aren't particularly good, that we don't buy them, and nobody's thrilled about it. But quite honestly, that doesn't bother me at all because it's something we didn't really want. It's part of going out. I'm always afraid if I don't go out on an estate that we've talked to on someone on the phone and done a little checking. I'm always afraid if I don't go out, 2 weeks later, a colleague mine will say, "I was just in this estate in the South Shore, and what a great library was." And that's the one that would bother me. And
Yeah.
the type of deals that we go out on that actually are a little tense and aggravating, when I go out, see a really good library, make an offer, and the people go, "Oh, I have to check with my brother. I have to
Hmm.
think about it. I'm not sure." And it's the stuff I really want. And probably once you leave, maybe half to two-thirds of the time, people will call back and say, "Yes, fine." But there's half to a third of the time when people either something else is going on or and that's frustrating. But
Mhm.
anyways, this one on the South Shore didn't work out. The books weren't that much. I don't mind. The next buy we had right after that was on the North Shore. So that means you have to drive through the city again. A lot of traffic. What should have taken 20 minutes took an hour and a half to get to. And it was an appointment that I went on because a friend of mine said, "Could you look at my uncle's books?" They sounded okay. Got there, and they were great. They were. It was much better than I thought. The man was really nice. He was thrilled that the books were worth a few $1,000s. We packed them up, probably about 20 boxes. Came back to the store. Got back at around 2 or 3. Again, answered phone calls. Did all of that. Closed up the store, locked up, and got ready for the next day. And the next day was actually interesting. I had a 7 o'clock dentist appointment. So I came into the store, opened it up, did some work, drove to Brookline, went to the dentist. Everything was fine. Got back before the 8:30 meeting. And then someone was coming in at about 1 o'clock at the store, and they were from a library that we had done a quick appraisal on, and they just wanted to come in and thank us for doing it. They brought some swag from their school that I saved for my grandchildren, and then they told me that they also have a survey map of that George Washington did. Before he was a general, he used to survey out
Mhm.
west. Now,
Mhm.
out west might have been Pennsylvania or Ohio, but he hand did maps and surveys. And so I'm making an appointment soon to go out and see that. It's probably a $30,000 or $40,000 survey.
Mm.
And then we also had a photo shoot at the store. Someone wanted on our outside to do a photo shoot of some bicycles, and we said they could do it. And we a lot of times will charge for that at times if it's a very commercial item, but sometimes we're more than happy to do it if they have the sign of the store in the background or people can recognize it. So that was definitely Thursday. Friday was a Thursday was a very unusual day at the store. We didn't have any appointments. We had had a big one that we were supposed to go to Concord. The people had to postpone it for a week. A lot of science fiction and so on. We were excited, but once in a while people postpone. So there wasn't any major things going on during the day. But we priced books in the basement. That has to get done at some point. Uh, and then went on, and I have a friend from the Antiques Roadshow who wants to do a podcast. So I stayed. I said, "Look, I'll do it at 5:45 because there'll be too much background noise at the store."
Mm.
So instead of leaving at 5:30, I left at about 6:37. So it only got me up to 13 and a half hours for the day. Um, and that was it was all fine. And then Friday, I went to this event at my high school, It was the 50th and 25th reunion for some of the classes, the young people. And now I'm even
Right.
beyond that.
It's
And I looked around and I said to one of my people that were also in an older class with me, and I said, all these people look old. I go, as long as I don't have a mirror, I'm fine.
well,
But
you're
Latin
eternally
schools,
young because of the work you do, and you're constantly on the go as you're
it,
explaining. That's
the
very healthy.
main thing I think that keeps me in good shape is I'm lucky, for one thing. And the second thing is I like what I do. I think
Exactly.
that's the most important. But, anyways, I'm at Latin school, and they were doing videos of the different classes, and mine was 60 to 65. And I was one of the 5 people they picked to have the video when they were showing it. And never, ever, ever when I graduated high school would have I thought that I would be one of the people that they would ask to talk about the class. I wasn't the class president. I wasn't in the top 5 of the class, but it just goes to show. And then, because I was working at the store, Nicole, who's the manager at the store, drove to East Boston in the morning, bought about 300 or 400 literature books from somebody, came back in, and with the books, and we got a nice collection. I don't do all of the buying. Everybody likes doing the buying. It's the fun part. And then we ended up calling the trash company because the one of the things I forgot to mention, early in the week I came in at 5:30 and the street was filled with water. A pipe had broken at the
Oh,
end of the street near Tremont, literally a main water pipe. And the water department was down, the street was closed. Fortunately, we
I
got
was going
no
to say,
flooding
yeah.
into
Oh
our
my
store.
God. Oof, that would have been
But
rough.
that was going on. But because the street was closed off, our trash didn't get picked up. So that's another thing that we have to make sure the trash gets picked up. And it's sort of that's one week in the store, and also making appointments for the next week.
On the seventh day, Ken Gloss rested.
But I don't want a day of rest.
I know
But
you're an Energizer bunny, man. You are
but I
amazing.
actually do enjoy taking Sundays off,
Yeah.
and it's fun. But the other thing that this sort of shows that I'd like to go over something like this with people is that's it's not just the reading and so on,
Right.
behind the scenes, but it's constant and it's regular. And the best thing is when it is steady. The hardest days at work, the by far the hardest days for myself and the people who work here, is when you get a very wet, rainy, snowy day. It's not busy. There's not a lot doing. Appointments are canceled. It's much harder to work through a day when it's quiet than it is when it's steady, busy, 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 busy.
The only thing I can say is at least you'd have a book or two to pass the time reading, maybe. But you've got a
Maybe.
business to run. You've got a business to run.
Well, it's funny because everybody here loves to read, loves to get books, but reading is for pleasure. And I can go home, and even though I've worked at the bookstore only my half a day,
That's
I
right.
can go home and open up a book, but it's two completely different and relaxing things. It's not like, oh, you work at the bookstore and reading a book is continuing working. No, reading books is fun.
I agree. And so is doing what you do, the way you describe it, and the fact that you're up bright and early, 4:30, and walking to work. Walking to work is great because you're avoiding the tumult of traffic and commuting and all that stuff, and getting some exercise to start the day. Terrific.
You can actually walk across Boylston Street and Tremont Street without waiting 15 minutes for all the traffic to go. But also, we're taping this in May, and it's just now getting to the point when I get to the Boston Common that there's enough light that I feel safe enough and comfortable enough walking across the common instead of around the common.
Yeah.
And when, all winter, it's pitch black.
I know the route by heart. I know exactly what you're talking about. This is great, Ken. Thank you for sharing and being so open, and you're happy to share because you have so much fun doing it. Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Brattlecast.